If you like your Reapers dark and with a side of skulls, then this video is for you, as I show you how to paint Maugan Ra, the Phoenix Lord of the Dark Reapers. Welcome to the painting coat. The first thing to do is show you how I've got the model set up. So I've built the main body and I've left the backpack and the skull shoulders off. I've primed those in Wraithbone and the rest of it black. Now, the first thing we're going to do in order to unify the colour is paint everything with a very thin coat of Abaddon Black. Once that's done, we'll take some Zandri Dust and use this to base all of the bone areas. Take your time, you might need more than one coat, and just be careful not to make too much of a mess. If you do, you can of course repair this using Abaddon Black. We'll begin the highlights next using Ushabti Bone, and what we're looking to do is catch all those raised areas of bone, just leaving the Zandri Dust in some of those recesses. Take your time with this and build it up slowly. This will give you a really nice transition. The final highlight on the bone is with Screaming Skull, and you can use this fairly sparingly, just putting some spot highlights on those areas that are going to catch the most of the light. Take your time and just use it where you think it's needed. To add some definition back into some of these areas, we can take some Agrax Earthshade. Make sure you haven't got too much on your brush and make sure you've got a really good point. And you can just use this to add some shade and shadow in some areas, and this will really accentuate the bone effect. We'll move on to the white skulls next, such as the shoulder pad, Maugan Ra's face mask, as well as the mask on his belt. And to do this, we'll base the area with Corax White. We'll shade all of the white areas using Apothecary White contrast paint. What we'll do is paint this into those darkest recesses and let it dry. Then, once it has completely dried, we'll go back in with another coat of Apothecary White just to darken the absolute darkest areas. We need to highlight all of these white parts now, and the colour we're going to use for this is White Scar. Take your time and just pick out those really sharp edges, as this is going to give you a nice stark highlight that will really draw attention to these parts of the model. The spinal column going up from the backpack is a slightly different colour bone, so we'll do that next. We're going to base it with Karak Stone. When that Karak Stone is dry, we're going to shade it down a little bit using some Agrax Earthshade. Now paint this all over the Karak Stone area, making sure it gets into those recesses, but don't let it pool. When it's dry, we'll highlight it up, firstly using some Karak Stone, and then we're going to take a mix of Karak Stone and White Scar to get a nice extreme highlight on there. By doing this, you'll be able to get a nice effect, and it'll look great against the other colour bone. We need to paint the inside of the cloak as well as the hair on that skull on the backpack, so we'll base it all using Vorbak Red. Now this isn't the best colour in terms of coverage, but it does give you a great effect. The first highlight we're going to use is with Screamer Pink, so take your time with this and just use the shape of the brush and the shape of the model to get a really nice smooth highlight, catching all those raised areas. The next thing we need to do is finish up using an extreme highlight of Pink Horror. Use a little bit of paint on your brush, make sure you've got a good tip, and again drag it along those prominent raised areas and edges to get a really nice punchy look. We'll paint the leather next, and we'll also base all the gold areas, so the colour we need for this is Rhinox Hide. Take your time, especially around areas you've already finished, but paint all of the leather and all of the gold elements with this colour. To highlight all of the leather, we'll take some Gorthor Brown. We don't want too much on our brush, and just use the tip and drag this along the top and the bottom extremities of the leather, as this will give you a really nice smooth highlight. Next, we'll get that gold done. So the colour we're going to use is Liberator Gold, and we're going to paint this over all those areas where we laid down that Rhinox Hide base. What we're looking to do is leave that Rhinox Hide in the recesses, and we'll get a really nice bright shiny gold. When we've finished all that gold, we'll move on to the soul gems. So the first thing we need to do is base all of them using White Scar. Now take your time with this, and you may need two coats. The important thing is that it's smooth. Now we'll paint the gems themselves. So we've got two different colours. We've got a turquoise and a pink. So we're going to use Volupous Pink for all the soul gems on the torso, and we're going to use Terradon Turquoise for the one on the gun, as well as the ones on the backpack. We'll move on to the black clothing next. So we're looking for a little bit of a softer look than what we're going to get on the weaponry. If you haven't already, go back in with the Abaddon Black and repair any mistakes you made. The first colour we're going to use is Dark Reaper. Again, we're going to thin it a little, not too much on the brush, and we're just going to highlight all those raised folds. With that Dark Reaper done, it's time to accentuate some of those highlights using Thunderhawk Blue. So again, not much on your brush, good tip, and we're just looking to highlight those raised areas of the fold. We'll finish off the material using Fenrisian Grey. Now again, this is a much brighter colour than the one underneath, so we want to use it fairly sparingly and only on the most extreme folds and angles. Moving across to the armour and the weaponry, which is going to be a harder black colour, the first thing we're going to do is take some Eshin Grey and use the side of the brush and the shape of the model to get a really nice smooth highlight. That Eshin Grey is a really nice transition from black, so the next highlight we'll use is Dawnstone, and we're going to do exactly the same thing using the tip of our brush and pulling it along the shape of the model, and we'll get a really nice sharp highlight. The last thing we need to do is that giant size, so we're going to base it with a silver metallic, but we're going to keep it quite bright, so the colour we're going to use is Runefang Steel. To get that eerie blue glow, we're going to use some Aethermatic Blue contrast paint. We're going to start about halfway from the blade and we're going to paint towards the edge on both sides. Once it's dry, we're going to put a second coat just in that last quarter. And the last thing we need to do is highlight that size. So we're going to use Chrome from Vallejo Model Air. If you haven't got this, use Stormhost Silver. And we're looking to catch the raised edges of the model and really show how bright and shiny this deadly scythe is. And there we have it, Maugan Ra is done and ready to lead the Dark Reapers into battle. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment and check out my other content. I'll see you next time.